During the time of the judges, there was a famine in the land. A man left Bethlehem in Judea with his wife and 2 sons to live in the land of Moab for a while. The man's name was Elimelech, and his wife's name was Naomi. The names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were the Ephrathites of Bethlehem in Judea. They entered the land of Moab and settled there. Naomi's husband Elimelech died, and she was left there with her 2 sons. Her sons took Moabite women as their wives. One was named Orpah, and the second was named Ruth. After they lived in Moab for about 10 years, both Mahlon and Chilion had also died, and Naomi was left without her 2 children and without her husband. Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife. When he was intimate with her, the Lord enabled her to conceive, and she gave birth to a son. Then the woman said to Naomi, "Praise the Lord, who has not left you without a family redeemer today. May his name become well known in Israel. He will renew your life and sustain you in your old age. Indeed, your daughter-in-law who loves you and is better to you than your 7 sons has given birth to him." Naomi took the child, placed him on her lap, and took care of him. The neighbor woman said, "A son has been born to Naomi," and they named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David. Now this is the genealogy of Perez. Perez fathered Hezron. Hezron fathered Ram, who fathered Amminadab. Amminadab fathered Nahshon, who fathered Solomon. Solomon fathered Boaz, who fathered Obed, and Obed fathered Jesse, who fathered David. Ruth was a Moabite woman married to an Ephrathite man. The man and his family moved to Moab from Bethlehem in Judea, where Ruth lived. Several years after moving to Moab, Ruth's husband, father-in-law, and brother-in-law died, leaving behind Ruth, her sister-in-law Orpah, and her mother-in-law Naomi. Ruth and Naomi, both now widows, stayed together and traveled back to Judea. Instead of returning to her own father and mother, Ruth became like a daughter to Naomi and stayed by her side, caring for her. Ruth was a woman of faithfulness and obedience. Even in the tragic loss of her husband, she was showing loyalty to those she loved. Returning to her own mother may have been the easy or comfortable thing for Ruth, but she chose loyalty over comfort and followed Naomi to Bethlehem in Judea. In Judah, while collecting grain for herself and Naomi, Ruth met a wealthy man named Boaz. Boaz was related to Ruth's father-in-law, Elimelech. When Boaz met her, he told her that he had heard of her faithfulness to Naomi, and he wanted to reward her by showing her favor and taking care of her. Boaz and Ruth later married and gave birth to a son. Just like Ruth, many of us face tragedy in which we have a choice to stay faithful to the Lord and what He has called us into, or walk in self-comfort. When we are drowning in doubt or anxiety, do we run to the Prince of Peace, or do we sit in self-pity and fear? When we lose someone we love, do we doubt the Lord's goodness or trust in His faithfulness? When everything in our culture tells us to follow our hearts by fulfilling our own desires, we will miss our assignment as followers of Christ if we are not careful. God always proves Himself to be faithful, and if we do not choose to be faithful to Him, we will miss an infinite amount of blessings.